I call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for Tuesday, January 12, 2016. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before us, we have our agendas presented. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time? Okay, the agenda will stand as presented. Let's welcome everybody for 2016. I think, Joe, we just officially used our first salt for the year?
Sunday we used a little bit.
Okay.
That's actually the first time.
First items on the agenda, we have election officers. Election officers number 1 for president.
If I may, I'd like to elect Scott Hawes as president.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And if I may, number 2, elect John Sabo as vice president.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolutions. I think first one, let's see, are these just simply misnumbered? I see 3 and 4, I don't see a 1 and...
1 and 2
The 1
are
and 2
the
we just
Or
election.
1 and 2, okay. Saw how they were broke out different things.
You're right.
Also move on, beginning of year resolutions number 3, Robert's Rules of Order.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. Beginning of year resolutions number 4, Board of Trustees meeting.
Second.
So moved, Mr. Lino, second. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And Mr. Haas?
Yes. And I'll do number 5, retaining employees. So moved.
I'll second that.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
The door's locked. It's a public meeting and the door's locked.
Oh,
Well, we've tried to find a way to make it not public.
I'll have to let you know.
Oh.
We're sorry.
Number 6. We're just doing the beginning of year resolutions, ladies. We're on number 6,
Oh,
so.
Oh, but you probably want to tell them who is now president and vice
Yes.
president.
Trustee Hawes, we elected as president and
Mr. Sabo will be vice president.
vice.
Thank you. Scott is president
Yeah.
again, and John, you're vice president. Okay, thank you.
That'll take us to number 6, work rules and policies. And I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. Number 7, holidays. I will so
I'll
move.
second it.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Beginning of year resolution number 8, mutual aid. I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. Number 9, coordination of fire and law enforcement agencies. I will so move.
Second that.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
This is number 10, workers' compensation, which I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. Beginning your resolution number 11, insurance benefits, I will so move. Second. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. On beginning your resolution number 12, SCOG, be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to appoint Scott Haas as representative of the Stark Council of Governments and to appoint John Sabo as the alternate representative for 2016. I'll second it. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Request on tax advances, I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. Beginning your resolution number 14, Stark hazardous response, I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. Beginning your resolution number 15, zoning, waive zoning fees for governmental agencies and political subdivisions. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Beginning your resolutions number 16, paying cost of refreshments, also move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And last but not least, beginning your resolution number 17, Gov Deals unwanted assets. I'll second. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And if I could bring us back to beginning year resolution number 7, the day after Thanksgiving should be on the resolution, is not, somehow it was overlooked for Friday, November 25th. If that could be added in.
It's not in the verbiage?
It's not on the
okay.
list, no.
It was.
Well,
Pass
let's,
the resolutions.
yeah, we
Yeah.
passed the resolution, so let's pass a resolution to amend that
Amend it.
resolution,
Mhm.
okay? So that this will now be, are we stopping the cumulative numbering? This will be 18.
Mhm.
And it will be a resolution simply to amend resolution number 7 on this page to include the day after Thanksgiving. And then we'll bring it to the floor and vote on it.
Wait. Isn't that in the last paragraph?
Is it in the last paragraph?
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Joe.
Last paragraph. Be it hereby resolved, Plain Township Board of Trustees to observe Friday, November 25th, 2016, the day after Thanksgiving, as a holiday provided by resolution 04120. I thought I read that.
Wow.
We don't have to do
See,
anything.
that's why you're the vice president.
That's right. Nice pick.
But should it not be listed as a?
No, that's why I thought I missed it too. And then
Okay.
as I read further, then it made sense to me, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Then
I know we had all looked at it.
all crossing
Okay.
on 18.
Then we are back to where we were.
All right. We don't have anything officially under the sheriff's report. Is there anybody, whether it's board department heads or in the crowd, that has anything? Okay. Actually, Lieutenant Springer, has anything really evolved or materialized from over in Robin Hood Acres, Sherwood Village, Canterbury Creek with some of the break-ins? Any further progress on leads?
As the board is aware that Detective Koenig is away in training right now, The county has been sending their detective units out to assist us. The administrator obviously met one of the detectives last week. I've been in contact with the second detective over the last 2 days. We do have a lead on that. Kansas City Police Department is also assisting us with that investigation as well. It's also a suspect they have,
Okay.
so we're working on that together.
Thank you.
One piece of property has been returned to Linder Circle.
Good. Thank you, Lieutenant. Nothing on our unfinished business. That's going to take us to new business, and I'm going to turn that over to our administrator, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Trustees to enter into the agreement with Computech for the annual technical support contract and to authorize payment as below per each individual department.
I will so move.
Second.
As far as for discussion, public clarification, the reason this is being done was OSA Technologies, our prior provider, had been acquired by the Karcher Group, who ultimately subs this out to another vendor based upon pricing that had been secured. This work was comparable to what OSA was contracting with us for, and essentially it's the same terms, the number of hours and so forth for providing support to the township.
That's absolutely right. And this Computech is the group that Eric Haynes worked with to do our changeover to Office 365. So each department head is aware of this group, has worked with them and comfortable with them, but it's exactly the same contract as we used to have with OSA, and we needed to secure a new contract once they had been no longer in business.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
and Mr. Lino.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 2 is simply the notice of the Stark County Township Association annual meeting for January, which is Thursday, January 21st at 6:30 at Perry Township Fire Station number 3. Attorney Charles D. Hall, who is the Perry Township attorney, sorry Eric, is going to be giving a township update. And if anybody's interested in attending, I know it says Tuesday, January 19th, but I can still send in reservations even tomorrow if you let me know. And that's the end of new business.
That's a week.
Sorry, I got excited. We can definitely still make it. I definitely can get those reservations in.
Okay, that concludes new business. That's going to take us to our fiscal officer's report. We will turn that over to Mr. Flex.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a request for a resolution to authorize the payment of the pending warrants.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Lino.
Yes.
Item number 2 is a request for a resolution by the board to authorize the payment of the regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So move authority to pay.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Just for board's purposes, we bumped that up to 250 from 220. It hasn't been bumped up in a long time. We've had addition of a couple of employees. I think with the anticipation of fire possibly being able to hire some new guys with that levy, that we're going to get close. So just to give some room there.
We need roll call.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Lino.
Yes.
Item number 3 is a request for a resolution by the board to authorize the following medical claims.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Item number 4 is the financial report.
report?
No, good, thank you.
Perfect.
Item number 5, it's a request for a new liquor license for Orso Enterprises number 1, DBA Pizza Oven Restaurant for the address of 8043 Cleveland Avenue Northwest.
This is the old Chicken Manor.
Yes, Board of Trustees.
And we didn't have any issues from the sheriff's office on this.
No need to hold it. Moving on. Yeah.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for a resolution to enter into the attached agreement with Finley Davies to complete the actuarial report as required by ORC.
I will so move.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for a resolution by the board to approve the sick pay bonuses for the Plain Township Firefighters Association.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Who was that on the move?
I made the motion, Mr. Sabin. Second.
Thank you.
Roll, and then just roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 8 is a request for a resolution by the board to allow the fiscal officer to transfer funds as needed between meetings for expenses and include those transfers in the next, in a resolution at the next meeting.
I will so move authority to pay.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 9 is a request for a resolution by the board to authorize the refund for overpayments for emergency medical services as requested by Ohio Billing.
So moved.
I'll
I second.
Mr. Lino.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 10 is a request for a resolution by the board to authorize the following transfer.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And Fiscal Officer number 11 is a request for a resolution by the board for a resolution that will amend Resolution 15634, which authorized the fiscal officer to pay the township boards of zoning appeals and zoning commission for the period of July 1st through December 31st at $50 per meeting for a total of $1,550.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
This was just the list that was submitted to us in December. There was a meeting that was missed, so there were a few people that needed to pay for that. I think 3 or 4 people that needed added.
They're all highlighted.
Mhm.
Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
And Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes the fiscal officer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Flax. That will take us to the administrator. I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to approve the renewal and authorized payment to Leads Online for the Leads Online Power Plus service package in an amount not to exceed $2,364 for Plain Township's half.
I will so move.
I'll second.
John, are you familiar exactly with? Oh, I just wanted to make sure we didn't need Lieutenant Springer to clarify.
No, we went over that. Actually, that was in my orientation.
Okay, perfect. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrator report.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. That's going to take us to the fire department. I am going to turn that over to Chief Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is the monthly report for December. Just like the board know too, that working on the annual report with Captain Haynes for redoing some formatting we had in the past. So I'll have that prepared and ready for you on the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
What was the total runs last year? It's probably not on here, but total last year.
4578.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is a resolution to purchase payment for gasoline, oil, diesel fuel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
And item number 3 is the appointment of board members for the volunteer membership we do on an annual basis. I know that Liz had talked to.
She had sent me an email, and I simply said I thought it was typically handled right at the beginning of
So
the year.
I think we have a copy from last year.
Is it myself and Lou, or you now, or?
Was you and Al last year?
Yeah, I think it
Was you and Al last year?
Just keep that the same, it's fine.
Or unless he wants to get.
No, you're good.
It's one of these where we hope we never
Yeah.
have.
See, I would
He's
jump
like,
on
I do
that
not
with my
wanna do
fingers
that.
crossed, no, we're never gonna have a meeting, so,
Yeah.
you don't wanna have a meeting of that group.
Be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to appoint Scott Haas as chairman and board member, and Al Lino as board member for Plain Township on the volunteer firefighters dependent upon the board.
Thank you.
Yes.
Was that a move?
Yeah, I'm
I'll
sorry.
second it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to authorize the tenant.
Just one thing. I know we're gonna have to update my address on the
Okay.
on the board.
Yeah.
I'll make note of that.
Sorry about that.
That's a good catch. Mine's up there.
Yeah, yours is up to date.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to authorize attendance payment for 4 people to attend the Fire Instructors Conference in Indianapolis.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
And item number 5 is to authorize reimbursement to Kyle Newsbaum for the healthcare membership based on the CBA.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
And item number 6 is to also authorize reimbursement payment to Steve Ash for his healthcare membership according to the CBA.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that concludes fire. That's going to take us to road department. I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the monthly report for December.
How many overall patching / potholes since we've had up to this point? 3 miles, is that number low? That's a relatively low.
Because there was no freezing. We had free snow cycle. So, plus with our extra paving we did last year helps too. So
Okay, awesome.
it's overall so far so good.
Stop sign, just a quick question on the stop sign replacement. Is that just due to the life cycle?
Yeah,
Or-
it's a reflectivity thing, and that's when we, say about 4 years ago, remember, we got that big grant for
Yeah.
those, and we're still working with those, and
Okay.
so.
Any other questions? Okay.
Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize the purchase of gasoline, oil, and diesel not to exceed $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Item number 3 is a little little housekeeping to approve the hour change of Teresa K. Santora, the road administrative assistant, from 7:30 to 4 to 7 to 3:30 to coincide with the road department hours.
So move on that.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
And item number 4 is our yearly 2015 yearly report that we will send to this county engineer.
Thanks, Bob.
I'm sorry.
15 and a half miles resurface. That's huge.
Before the year.
Awesome.
Especially where it was.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's going to take us to the zoning department, Mr. Farrar.
Item number 1 is the monthly report, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to try to jump ahead. There's gotta be something.
Any questions on those? You still trying to? Give us just a second.
See, it's not-
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's what I was just.
I don't have one over there I can click on.
Oh, I think you just have to scroll.
Scroll to the bottom of the road.
Go to road and scroll to the bottom.
There we go.
There it is.
Easy peasy.
Boy.
Yeah. So it comes up.
Everybody good?
Mhm.
Yes, next.
Item number 2 is a resolution to reappoint Timothy Reichel to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I will so move.
I'll second that.
Discussion, and just note, Mr. Reichel's service on the board has been very representative of what we want out of our both board members. Fair and well informed, so I'm more than happy to have him reappointed to that board.
Yes, I agree.
So, roll call?
Mr. Haas,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Lino,
Yes.
Really active too.
That is all I have for the board tonight.
Thank you. It's going to take us to the Parks Department, Mr. Steinberg.
Thanks, gentlemen. Item number 1 is our December monthly report.
Any questions? Okay.
Item number 2 is our annual report.
I think everybody's done a good job, but I'll tell you what, this is the one, I think we've come a far way. Receipts from 2 years ago are up 27.7%. You know, we were hoping slow and steady, you know, 4 or 5% compounded every year, be doing good. So nice effort on blowing it out of the water. Just make sure we monitor our margins on that, because obviously receipts can go up if costs are going up disproportionately. Doesn't do us any good, so continue to manage that, and nice work.
Thank you.
Next.
Finally, we have a resolution to advertise for bids for the Veterans Memorial Monument at Veterans Park in the newspaper published in Stark County on the 14th and 21st, with bids that were received and opened on the day of January 27th.
Also move.
Second that.
Discussion. Essentially, this just moves forward the piece that the board previously committed to in conjunction with the renaming of the park and taking a portion of the hillside over at Veterans Park. So Roll call?
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Includes parks, nothing under our law director. It's gonna take us to communications. I'll turn that over to Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. We received a communication from the SAM Center, and that's serving area military. That's the collection that was held here over the holidays, and it reads, "Dear friends, Scott brought to us all of the wonderful groceries you donated. A lot of these items were not covered by food stamps, which most always are your biggest needs. We saw so many faces as the families and our local veterans came in, leave with the greatest of smiles. It was very humbling, to say the least. We are wishing you a happy new year, and once again, thank you. Your friends at SAM Center." Yeah, very nice and very appreciated, and thank you, Scott, for putting that together at the township this year.
Trust me, it's just fun to see the face numbers. Rob wouldn't help, because literally we had our truck, the entire bed was packed full, plus the rear cab, and the lady comes around the corner, and just to see her face. I wish we would have made it there maybe a day earlier. They said they had done some stocking stuffers for the different veterans and so forth, and they had just dropped them off, and they said we could have done a couple more stockings and so forth, but, you know, it was good work by the community and everybody.
Well, and I think next year our newsletter will be a little more timely, so maybe there could be greater donations, so maybe we'll push that for a goal, especially since it's reaching all of our residents now.
Yeah. Okay. Takes us to public speaks. First item we had there was Hall Plain Village.
And that was supposed to be under concerns of trustees.
Okay, so we'll actually, that's right. Public speaks. Is there anybody in the crowd that wishes to address the board of trustees with any matters, concerns? Is there anything that you wish to address your board of trustees with as far as any issues or concerns?
This is public speaks?
Yes, correct. We just ask that you'll state your name and your address for the fiscal officer.
My name is Ken Atkinson, A-T, K-I-N-S-O-N. I live at 1727 Schneider, Northwest. I am here because I've received a ticket for parking in the Veterans Park, and it has been taken care of. My wife and I were walking our dogs on the on the Parks track. And it was getting dark. There were two other cars parked in the parking lot. We see an officer, as I found out later on the ticket, Officer White. I don't know if he's with the Parks Department or sheriff. And he's walking down the track going towards the dog park. So we're saying, well, he must be going to walk up the dog park. Now, the distance of this room apart from one track to the other track. When we get back to our car, there's a parking ticket on it. I didn't know that was on there, but I did see a fellow running across. A jogger was out, come from the Glen area. He got over to his car, and we seen him open up get in his car, and then he got back out, and maybe he's reading something or couldn't figure out what he was doing. And so when we get down to our car, and he's still sitting in the car with the lights on, and get in the car, ticket, so I get that out. And I'm reading that, and I figure, well, that's what, he must be got a ticket too. The other car was gone, so there's only two cars left. Now this is at 5:41. I know, middle of December it gets dark. So I come here, I read the ticket. Now, if you block a fire hydrant, it's a $5 fine. If you park on a sidewalk, it's a $5 fine. If you park under a street light in a or parking lot light, in a designated parking lot, right behind the fire station, it's $10. Because you're on private property. There is no signage indicating that you can't park there. We live a mile away. I'm a Vietnam vet, I'm 74 years old, and I live a mile away. It is shameful that an officer, as he's walking down, hey, we're going to be closing the park pretty soon, you need to leave. You can't park here after dark. Anything. I just so upset that it's ridiculous. It seems like they're more interested in gaining some revenue than you are in safety, because otherwise, why do you have $10 to park in an open space and you got $5 for blocking a fire hydrant or parking on the sidewalk? Now, you can look at the tickets. This is wrong. It's a veterans park. It used to be Snyder's Park. I've lived here for 40 years. Someone needs to rethink what they're doing with the public parks.
Well,
Paid taxes all these years.
Well, Mr. Atkinson, I'm going to try to speak as best as I can on a couple things. We apologize for your frustration and emotion, but as I understand, it has been
Well,
waived.
who's speaking?
I am. Trustee Scott Hawes, right here
Oh,
in front.
okay.
Senator. Apologize for your frustration. I mean, the reason I sold our board on renaming the park as well as committing the Veterans Memorial is for the service and sacrifice. But that aside, I do believe the rule has always historically been published at all our parks from dusk.
It is
to dusk.
actually not in Schneider, but we
Okay.
have ordered them.
So it is, so correct.
Which is why we waived it, because there was not signage to indicate such at that park. The other two, yes, they have them.
All right. Now, as far as with respect to fee structure, I mean, reality is, we don't write a whole lot of tickets throughout the year. So if there's any auspice or thought that this is a huge revenue driver for the sake of the township or the parks, we could give you a total ticket count. Most tickets actually get written for over a diamond when people are truly violating parking issues that create significant safety issues. Those are warranted. So,
Yeah, I'm
you know,
not
it's
talking about that.
it's not a frequent issue, and I know, you know, Lieutenant Springer here, who's the officer for the Stark County Sheriff's Office's representative for Plain Township here and overseeing the staff. I'm sure he can confirm what I'm saying here, that we don't write a lot of these
Well,
tickets.
that's
And I can
fine,
assure you,
but what
we're
was
not
your
looking to
ticket?
nickel and dime the public, whether it's yourself or it's my own father, who's a Vietnam veteran as well. It was probably an honest mistake. It's being corrected with signage being secured. As far as with respect to fee structure, Eric, is there anything, I mean, where, to me, the fee's a fee, whether it's $5 or $10? I know it's more difficult on fixed incomes, but is there a rhyme or reason on how maybe those were set just for Mr. Atkinson's?
I'm actually not sure. Those have been set for so long, I can't speak to it.
Well, it'd be interesting to get out a ticket and look at it and see where the priorities are.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's something that, hey, we go through and prioritize based upon ranking infractions and infraction. That's
Well,
where
I think blocking a fire hydrant.
And that's where our law enforcement, you know, through the sheriff's office executes that. They don't have a say in the fee structure, and if things are added on over time, that doesn't mean we do a cumulative review of, you know, the charges. So if maybe that original ticket, let's say for, and I don't know for a fact, it was started in 1985. Maybe it should be updated to $15 because of inflation, but, you know, we can have somebody take a look at the parking ticket on our staff and the fees, so whether it's flat across the board or whatever, but,
Yeah, it's the idea that it should be open anyway.
well.
It's
from
not
sunrise to
like
sun-
I was there at 2 o'clock in the morning.
But-
It's 5:41 in the evening. Yes, I know there's a lot of places that say, we close at dark. That didn't.
Yeah.
So, right away, your officers are not up to speed on what's going on, and just a courtesy thing. Hey, we're gonna be closing. I mean, I couldn't believe, got back and got a ticket, and the officer's right there. He run my license plate, so he knew where I was.
And with all due respect to our sheriff's deputies, I mean, they do a great job for the
I
township.
don't know who it was.
And they are operating under the auspice that our other parks have had published from sunrise to sunset or dusk till dawn. So whether it's any of our guys who are patrolling or the shift officers or Lieutenant Spurt, they're looking at it as, okay, the township already has 2 other parks where it's been posted. That falls on the township. I mean, we'll take responsibility and accountability for that, because those guys, I mean, to go, okay, hey, these 2 parks are sunrise to sunset, but this park doesn't, that's not theirs. They're operating across the board is that it's sunrise to sunset. So the fact that we didn't have the signage up, that's your board of trustees problem, and we've taken the corrective action to fix that, as Mr. Steinberg said. So for moving forward, it should be clearly published at the front, like any of our other parks entrances, it will say from sunrise to sunset. So again, I apologize that you've had to come out in frustration tonight in the cold.
I did, yeah, that's not the deal. The deal is, that we just have lost common courtesy. This is just another example of over-government. I mean, for somebody not to say to 2 people, I mean, it's just shameful that somebody can't warn, and you get back, I don't know, like you say, I don't know how many tickets. That's not the idea. The idea, there should never have been a ticket to begin with. It wasn't 2 o'clock in the morning, it was 5:41, it gets dark early. Just say something, okay, relief, thanks a lot. But to go back and write a ticket, somebody needs to go back to the 50s.
I see, I just heard.
Sir, on behalf of the sheriff's office, I can tell you, I'll speak with the officer that wrote that ticket. And just remind him to be conscientious of using, you know, courtesy and stuff. I'll take on that aspect.
And the likelihood is from what I'm hearing, is it may have been wrote prior to going back to lock up the dog park, just haven't seen parked vehicles, and by the time you guys come back out. So Lieutenant Springer will talk with the staff, and then as far as for any future issues, we have the signage that will be clearly posted, so the township will correct what was an error and omission on our aspect, so it won't happen to you, and it shouldn't happen to anybody else moving forward.
That's all I have, thanks.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Atkinson. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? Okay, that'll close out public speaks. That's going to take us to concerns of trustees. And the first item we did have was Hall of Fame Village. And I think when this originally came out this morning, what we had seen on the presentation that the Hall of Fame committee, along with Mr. Linder, IRG, and all that, it appeared that potentially there was some additional area that was displayed on this rendering that we didn't think was in the presentation to us. However, that has been clarified through some images that were captured during the presentation.
Chief
So,
Snyder, thankfully, he took a picture, and I remember him taking pictures that evening of the presentation, and there was a picture that showed them potentially going up to this point where they're showing Clarendon. I think what was just shocking was seeing it in such detail in the map today as opposed to kind of what we saw that evening, which is kind of the line and without the parcels. And seeing it actually go right up to the fire station. So in all fairness, yes, they did say that's where the future, you know, in 2019, they were looking at. It wasn't this detailed, and I think for all of the department heads, we were just taken aback. So I think the board just will continue to do what it's been doing very well, which is keeping the lines of communication open with the city of Canton, with the Hall of Fame, has some very frank discussions about the fire station and its future there. Infrastructure, absolutely.
Nothing else under the Hall of Fame village. I did want to, I had two other things I know I didn't draw at the beginning. Since we have passed the resolution to advertise for bids for the Veterans Memorial Monument, as we all saw at the Veterans Day event, Mr. Chad Palmer's classing group has been working on those. I know I've been telling the board that we would have the final renderings coming forward because the students were tweaking them based upon the feedback and input they got during that event. There's been a little bit of a delay between the holidays, and then I had originally been promised that we'd see him this week, but Mr. Palmer did reach out to me with regrets and say that he apologized, he forgot they had midterms this week, so by next week we will have that final detail, and I think at that point that's where we should look at maybe setting an evening hearing similar to what was done with Parks, so we can get some additional feedback from anybody else who may not have been able to attend that event, or, you know, just wasn't aware of it at that point, so then we can continue to solidify what that final design is, so then we can start branching out and working with fundraising and some groups that have expressed interest. So I simply wanted to advise you where that stands. It hasn't fallen on deaf ears. It's a priority, so next week we'll have that. And then the last thing, I had originally emailed it to Lisa. I believe she's forwarded it to all the department heads. Thank you for, again, the work you've done on the access management committee feedback that you provided me in helping steer that through. Obviously, the flyer that was forwarded is what will be communicated to the public when, you know, the commissioners start to have their hearings on that, to which no dates are set at this point. So those were the only items. Is there anything else by my fellow trustees under concern? Trustees? Concerns of the fiscal officer?
No.
Okay, that will take us to the approval of the minutes for December 22nd, 2015, for which I will so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Saba?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. There is a need for executive session, so be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 6:50 p.m. from this regular meeting. The Plain Township Board of Trustees is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose and consideration of 1B, employment of a public employee or official, 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, 3, a conference with the law director or other retained counsel concerning pending or imminent court action, 4, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees. Get a second? Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Saba?
Yes.